Yes.
So I literally, um, she asked me for a bio, and
Mm.
I was like, "Have you met me? Put me on paper. Let me know how that sounds. Let me see what I think of me." I was like, "What the heck is a bio?"
And she does so much. I wouldn't even know how to put her on paper. I don't
I
even
don't know
know
how
if
to
there
put
a
me on
piece of paper
paper.
can even capture all of what she does.
See, and
So
that's the thing, and that's why I like having guests on like the both of you to just to bring something different to the table. Like I said before, I hit record was I don't I don't do the low hanging fruit conversations, and I don't want the boring guests. Low hanging fruit would be anything to do with celebrities. That's the If you listen to any of my episodes, there's very few
did he freeze up?
episodes. Oh, oh,
Is it?
oh. Oh, it might be you. Oh, did we lose her?
I'm a texter.
Oh, there she
You,
goes.
oh, you're back.
Yes, you're
Okay,
back.
you're back. Is it me?
Yeah,
My internet connection is unstable. There, is that better?
yes, we can hear you and see you now.
We can hear
Guys,
you.
there? Okay. All right. Redo. I didn't hear your last sentence.
Um, Damn, I forgot what I was just saying.
Damn,
Uh,
He
like
was saying
that?
he doesn't like to interview celebrities. He
oh
wants
yeah,
the
yeah.
real
Well,
deal, real people talking on his show all the time. That's pretty much
yeah,
it in a nutshell.
it's
So,
clear.
definition of a celebrity is only as much hype as you put out in front of yourself. And it's so funny because when I sit back and I look at all the internet influencers, I tell them, kindly tell me what an internet influencer is
Mhm.
and what do they stand for besides look at me. And I'm like, what are they influencing? What are they influencing? They're posting a picture. They're posting what the meal is that they're going to have tonight.
Mhm.
Like, somebody give me internet influencer that has something to say about something. And so for me, I just think it's funny. Celebrity. And it's like, great. Where do we go from here? I don't know.
True. It's very true. But so I
I'm
know
probably
you
going to
all.
get in trouble for that.
Oh no, not at all. If the truth gets you in trouble, then it's them and it's not you.
I don't.
He'll be all right. Their egos will heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
You,
I
you do
know,
you
I
have
know.
them? They're just I'm promoting a shirt or I'm promoting that I ate 10 hamburgers or it's crazy. And
I
people
look at,
they get the followers and they're watched, and they
Mm.
get funding behind some of that craziness, but it does it for them, I guess.
if you ever sit back and really think about what IG, for example, so has done, right? I
Mm.
watch what people post and who they follow to kind of get a read of the community, right? And
Mm.
what I've noticed is that one word, one trigger shifts masses of human beings. One trigger shifts masses of human beings that way. And it's sad because I'm like, okay, well, what do they stand for? Like, my famous question is, what do you stand for? Right? You
Mm.
know, they want a sponsorship, they want a meeting, they want it. And I'm like, okay, but what do you stand for? Like, when you die and they're standing at your casket, what are they going to remember you for? The fact that you ate at this bougie restaurant, the fact that your purse was a Louis, or that you wore red bottom shoes, or you showed your boobs, like, I don't, or what size your ass got exploded to. Like, I want substance. Like, that's part of why I'm as vocal as I am.
Mm.
You know, I see all these people promoting, they got all these women, all these men, and I'm like, at the end of the day, when you're in trouble, who do you want to stand for you? Somebody's whose boob size you need to measure? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me anymore. So I sit here and I do this and I just laugh. I'm like, are y'all kidding me? Like, the shit's crazy.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad entertainment. But yeah, I know we're so far in. So let me introduce my guest. So, good evening, good day, good people. This is Ringo, your host of We Need to Talk 23, and joining me this evening is Miss Sunshine and Miss Black Widow. How are you two doing this evening?
Right?
I'm doing awesome.
All right. So again, thank you all for joining me. And like I said, we got into the conversation before I even hit the record button, and hey, it should be a good episode, for the people to listen to once we're done recording it. So I'll start with you, Miss Sunshine. So introduce yourself to the people and let them know who you are.
So I'm also Regina Graves with Break Limits Coaching. I help entrepreneurs and small businesses go from smoke to fire. I also do interviewing for businesses and entrepreneurs to help provide that motivation for others that are pretty much on the fence and wanting to start, but haven't jumped off of the fence to start that business just yet. I also provide support to women leaders. I've been a woman leader for about the past 20 years, working in a male dominated industry. And a lot of times we need support, and I provide that support coaching and opportunity along with leadership training. I am also Sunshine with the Los Angeles Rough Riders. So, and that would be a little bit with me. And then on to you, Black Widow.
Oh God. Hi guys. My name is Cherie and they call me Black Widow. They asked me for a bio before we came on here and I was like, oh God, put it on paper. Where do I start? I am the founder and owner of Black Widow. We are a legal team that provides basic support for the community. We are all about education and empowering the people at large. So when it comes to people saying, hey, no chance you're going to win, no chance you're going to get justice, we're known as the No Chance team. And basically, we do everything based on community service. All this podcasting, all this, everything right now is brand new because we've always been just word of mouth. And here we are.
All right, so I'll throw this question out there for the both of you. What what led you, and whoever wants to go first can go first, but what led you to the field that you're currently in? What was it? Was it something that you saw, or was it something that you read, or was it a person that kind of helped guide you into the position or role that you're in now?
All you, sunshine.
So with Break Limits Coaching, I've spent the last 20 years working in the corporate world. And I try to bring the knowledge that I've learned in the corporate world to the small owner, the small business owner, and the small entrepreneur, because there's so much information. And many businesses a lot of times fail because of things they don't know. There's access to so much information that you come across at the corporate level that a lot of times your small business owner and entrepreneur does not come across. My father and my family, pretty much, they were longtime entrepreneurs, and I kind of entered the working world. I had a family and kids. I needed a job, and I went in and I started working. So I really like the opportunity for the freedom for my time, and as I talked to my dad and like my uncle and like my grandfather was a mortician. Crazy story is when he started his business, he embalmed his first body on his kitchen table, and many, many years later, before he passed, he had two funeral homes on the East Coast. My father didn't work for anybody. He was a Mercedes-Benz mechanic. He had his own shop. I remember as a kid, my dad even had a print shop in his living room, but he was determined that he was never going to work for somebody else, And then I have an uncle now that lives in New York, and same thing with him. And he goes, Auntie, you need to stop working for other people, where you're trading your time for money when you could be making so much more money with so much more freedom of your time. He said, in my entire life, I've only worked for somebody for 6 months out of my life. So I started looking at myself where I've been basically trading time for money. And I said, you know what, I really got to get into starting my own business. And I've done it a few times over the years. I think I've sold just about everything there is to sell. At one point, I had a cab business when I was on the East Coast. The coaching thing came to me as I was struggling myself as a female executive. And I was dealing with this male female issue. I'm talking to people that, older white guys coming from the government side of business. They don't want to listen to what I'm saying. I could show them the policy, I could show them everything right there in black and white, but they don't want to listen to me, and I'm like, what is it about me that why they don't want to listen? So I actually hired an executive coach to help me, and come to find out it really wasn't me. And then in the end, she goes, why aren't you doing this? And I go, you know what? Maybe I really need to look into getting into this. And
Mhm.
that's how I got started with it. Originally, I started trying to do the relationship coaching, but I'm not a mushy person, so that didn't really work for me. So I
With a
said,
name
I
like
got
Sunshine.
right. Well, I do the public speaking and leadership speaking, and I do corporate training and certifications and all that stuff too. So the sunshine came originally from public speaking. When I go in a room, they say I lighten up a room.
Mhm.
And I people kind of resonate to me for counseling and coaching and everything else. I love people, but I'm very direct.
Mhm.
So a lot of times when people are going through emotional situations, unless that's your personality type, the direct, straightforward doesn't work for everybody. And I even found that with myself. I like the direct, the straightforward, but I hired a coach one time that she was all soft and cuddly. And I was like, I can't listen to this. I need somebody just gonna tell me how it is, that way we can get to the point. I don't need the soft and let's go around the mulberry bush. I'm like, get to the point, lady, get to the point, So you have to find what works best for you. And sometimes the relationship emotional, I didn't think it resonated with me, but I have other people that'll disagree. So, you know, but that's kind of how I ended up here.
All right, Black Widow.
God, where my story is crazy. I was working for a really big law firm. I lost the love of my life on a motorcycle accident
Mhm.
on the 101 405 interchange.
I'm sorry to hear.
And thank you. And when I needed help, it was like I was oblivious. It was, we didn't exist. Speed. Oh, you guys were speeding. Oh, this, oh, that. And I was looking around me and I'm like, you know what? I didn't want to end up just another claim number somewhere. And I realized quickly that this community that I wanted to break into had no substance or no legal support. I would watch the attorneys look at the cases, review the cases, and every single police report would come in speeding. And it wasn't logical to me. It didn't make sense. So I was like, I refuse to be swept under the rug. I do a lot of accident reconstructionist and PI work.
Mhm.
And over time, I realized that people don't really understand the motorcycle world, the riding world. And then it turned into people don't really understand their basic legal rights.
Mhm.
Just because somebody said it is so does not mean that that's the right way to do it or that's the legal way to do it. So by hook and crook, I found myself in a world that is male dominated,
Mhm.
and I had to literally prove my worth and over and over and over and continue to tell them, there's right from wrong. Something very simple that didn't make sense to me was, somebody gets injured in a motorcycle accident, they pick up the bikes and they throw them on the side of the road, right? And it's they don't even care that that's evidence. And something as simple as they cite everybody for speeding, right?
Mhm.
And you ask them a very simple question: officer, did you check the gear it was in? No, ma'am. I'm sorry, did you move the evidence, sir? Yes. Then how can you prove they're speeding? They're not speeding just because you say so.
Mhm.
So I found myself consistently in a world where these people weren't empowered. This group of individuals was very stigmatized and often dismissed as less than human. Just simple basic rights, whether it was from the legal community, the attorneys who are out here literally bartering for their injuries, right? Putting all this hype in front of them and them not realizing how it's supposed to work, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's law enforcement who literally dismisses the motorcycles riders. I did a personal survey. 99.9% of all the police reports in my entire involvement in this community have speeding on them. 1% of officers actually check a gauge or a speedometer. Literally, like they don't even check gears. They just throw the bikes, right? And it's literally 99.9%. So I started getting mad and I started developing this thing about educating. So I came up with a crazy idea of, hey, let me come into the community and let me prove myself, right? let us like educate you guys as to basic rights. They will search them. They walk, officers walk into emergency rooms with people that have severe injuries, fractures, bleeding, under narcotics, and demand a statement flashing their badges. Like the amount of civil injustice. So for me, it's a couple of things. It's about injury and medical care. Medical care dismisses people like they don't exist. It's stabilize, trauma, and dismiss. And people like you, me, Sunshine, we all pay our taxes.
Mhm.
What is the point of having a trauma center if you can't get seen besides an aspirin? They're putting casts on people that literally don't belong, or they're wrapping them up saying, go to your primary care, and you're walking out on a broken bone. That's not casted. Law enforcement, they say they're out there to enforce it, but you know what? You don't get to just enforce it. You also get to obey it.
Mhm.
So I found over the years that people are kept from being educated as to basic human dignity and civil rights. A lot of the guys in these clubs per se are actually ex-military. They are men and women who served in the armed. It's like Army, Navy, Marines, 20 years. They come out and they find a place of structure within these communities, right? And they get harassed because they wear a patch. People go back to the old stereotypes, the old, oh, this group, that, this group, that. So I actually like saw the documentaries and I kept saying, this doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
They needed a voice that basically said, hey, let me educate you guys. And my thing is, if I can educate one person at a time, and that person can turn around and educate the next person, right? Then we can start to make a difference. So my name, my whole foundation comes from my own personal trauma.
Mhm.
I cannot put in words, and I don't think I will ever be able to put in words what it felt like that night for me. Like it was like heaven and earth collided,
Mhm.
and it's not something that you heal from. We do a lot of fatalities, sadly. Like, how do people charge for fatalities when the California state limits are below the cost of burying a human being? And by the cost, I mean the basic essentials. I don't mean the fancy doves that everybody imagines, right? Basic essentials, right? We don't even have limits that justify a dignified burial.
Mhm.
So how do these firms go out there and take this money? And because they're on motorcycles, right? They're more exposed. So how do you charge for a fatality? How do people have the audacity to not say, you know what, that life is worth something?
Mhm.
And so for me, I started from a personal loss, how hard it hit me and how it affected my life. And the more I looked around in the legal community that I was a part of, it was all about, I had the red bottom Louise. I was part of huge firms and it was all about the wins. They never publicized the losses,
Mhm.
right? The hard hits, the lack of insurance. And then Californians are not smart enough to understand that when you vote for a proposition, like Proposition 213 in the state of California, right?
Mhm.
You don't get pain and suffering. You're lucky if you get your bike or your assets, whatever they are, car, what have you, paid for 5 Gs. Basic people have property in excess of 5 grand,
Mhm.
and you get your medical bills paid. That's it. That's all. So it's the lack of education shocks me every single day. So I've used my time and my energy into educating them, into challenging the right people,
Mhm.
into saying, hey guys, it's funny because I did a seminar called Wake the Fuck Up,
Mhm.
right? Legit. Because we carried a coffin as the opening to this event. And people don't realize, like, if you're gone forever. We
Mhm.
can't, you're not coming back. So you have to make sure that you're taken care of. And it has been one hell of an uphill battle. Female, male dominated world. Believe me, I've been challenged. I owe my entry into this community to a few very special people who didn't look at me and like, nah, get out of here. You're a female, what do you know? Um, so that's kind of my background and why this is my passion. So
So
I
I was gonna say, so over the years, and this is for both of you, have you have you had a harder time proving proving that you belong in the space? Did you have a harder time proving it to yourself or proving it to others?
hmm, that's a hard one.
For me, I would say it wasn't proving it to myself as much as it was helping someone else see the value in you because you are
Okay.
looking a little different. I think sometimes as women, we have to work a little bit harder
Hmm.
depending upon the crowd that you're in front of, So I don't think it's about as much as I valued myself and I knew where I belong and where I should be and didn't have a problem stepping up and speaking up. But it's then, already the societal views of you being a woman that
Okay.
kind of makes that a little bit more challenging where you have to say a little bit more, you have to present a little bit more, you got to
Mhm.
show a little more facts. Whereas, a lot of times with the guys, they're kind of that brotherly guy thing. And I know you're okay. I trust what you say, whether it's right or wrong, you know?
For me, definitely. It's been the first few years were very hard. I had to consistently reassert my presence. I had to make some really tough decisions. This is a female run organization.
Mhm.
And one of the scariest things was to say things like, you know, we could have a bike night, but we're not about tits and ass. It
Mhm.
was a different way of reaching the community. And I took a lot of heat for it. I was tested by a lot of people. And the first couple of years, yeah, it was really, really, really tough. Um, there was a lot of backlash. I was very new to them. They didn't know anything about me. They slowly started testing us, slowly started testing my team. And
Mhm.
then within the infrastructure of my own team, because it's men and women within my own team. So they would get feedback from the different players in
Mhm.
the community. So yeah, the first couple of years was hella hard. And I noticed over the years that I myself have become I'm very blunt. I'm very outspoken. I am probably the biggest voice in the community when it comes to doing right from wrong.
Mhm.
There are people who do like step back from me and kind of take it like a disrespect. Even to this very day, I still get challenged, but yeah, it was super hard to prove that I'm just as capable as the next man that is putting tits and ass in front of you. But
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to give you the information you need to protect yourself.
Okay.
So it was a hard balance.
I
And you
mean,
can tell
and
when she steps up, she's stepping up from the heart.
yeah.
I've seen her out there putting helmets, on the motorcyclists. She gave us all helmets at one point to make sure we were safe riders,
Mhm.
coming up with her new program. So when she speaks up, she's speaking up from the heart to make sure that we're all safe and that we're all good.
No, and that's what we need sometimes. Sometimes, and I don't mean in terms of, how people may think about it, but sometimes we need to be protected from ourselves. And, because we'll run out there, oh, I got this. And like you said, it's the knowledge that you're bringing to the table to help the new riders and even some of the older riders, they may have bad habits that they don't think are bad habits and they'll just keep
Boy,
coming
oh
their way.
boy. Those are the hardest ones to convince. Something as simple as a half helmet. Like the half helmets are so outdated. I have a standing trade. If you give me your half helmet, I will buy you a new full face. No, no, nothing, no catch anywhere. People look at me and they're like, how can she do that? And I'm like, how can I not? I
Mm.
know the pain of that loss. How
Yeah.
can I not? And a lot of times they don't understand that there are people out there who have suffered that loss, who walked that walk. And like every year I tell them, okay, guys, the slate's clean. Everybody's coming home all year,
Mhm.
right? So if we make a little difference, then it does. And the old cats, I love them to death, but they drive me cray cray. I am forever bargaining and negotiating with them. But I want to look fly on my Harley. And my answer is, I'd like your brain to stay intact. I like it where it is, not on the side of the freeway. Thank you. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, it's educating, educating, educating. And Sunshine is one of the first ones that really helped me. Like, I don't put myself out, right? This I don't ever do. I'm very quiet through like the in the media, and I'm new to all this. So when this came up, I was like, you know what? It's you. I really believe in what she does.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's that one voice in our ear. Doesn't matter how strong you are. And she was that voice in my ear when she put that up. Somehow God moved,
Mhm.
and I was like, I like this. I like what you're doing. I'm ready, but I'll only do it with you. See, there's your coaching, right? Unbeknown to you. Yeah. So it's just weird how things line up.
Yeah, and because the thing too is even like with Sunshine, I I don't know if you remember how I ended up even connecting with you. It was at the Master Media Summit. That's how I ended up. I don't even remember what class or whatever. I just know it was one of the Master Media Summits, and that's how I ended up connecting with you. And you were posting something on your Facebook page, and then we were talking about kind of bringing you on the show. And this was, I think, last year sometime. And then when I saw the picture with you two at the event, I said, you know what? It sounds cool. I just saw the name Black Widow CEO. I'm like, all right, let me try this one and let's see, where this conversation can go.
Oh, sky's the limit with us. Like, no holds barred. Like,
And don't believe her when she says she's quiet. She may be
I'm very
quiet here
quiet.
because I
I'm
have
very
seen
quiet.
her in action. I'm gonna tell you, when she steps up to the roughest, toughest guys and she means business, she tells them something. You have to see her looking all gorgeous, telling them about themselves. And I'm like, go, that's it, right there, right there.
You're cute. Oh my God. You know, I have learned over the years that it the community is so it seems like there's writers everywhere, but
Mhm.
it's not really like that. Like, they are truly a family. It doesn't matter what patch you wear. There is a very strict, like, it's a structure, they're a family. I've seen these guys do things for people. So they do so much community service
Mhm.
that goes untold and unknown. And I have tried so many different times. They'll show you the writer all over TV that kicked the mirror, right, of some guy's car. They won't show you the split second before where that car barely misses killing him,
Mhm.
right? But the hoopla, oh, this writer wearing a patch, woo, woo, woo. What? Like, where's the rest of the video? Just basic, and people love the sensationalism,
Mhm.
and they forget that person on that bike is a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a child.
Mhm.
But that's the vehicle that they choose to drive or ride.
Mhm.
And I'll see people closing lanes on the freeway. Like, I don't understand if they're cutting, splitting lanes is legal in the state of California. Why are you closing your cars? Because you're stuck in traffic? Like, there's been times where I'll literally put my car in park and walk over to that vehicle sitting on the freeway in traffic and bang on their window. Like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Like, what are you doing? That's somebody's family.
Right.
Like, they just close in on them. Or my favorite, they're a gang. What gang? I'm sorry.
A gang is any to some people. A gang is anything more than what, three people. So
Right.
it's
People,
crazy.
people are fear what they don't understand.
Absolutely. And I've posted the same thing, just like what she's saying. I've posted pictures of the homeless feeding events and the
Hmm.
different things that we've done, as Rough Riders out in the community, even in conjunction with other motorcycle families. And still, I'll have people that go in and they'll comment, you and your gang look like y'all are having fun. And there's so much from the toy drives, the feedings, and Black Widow was a big help for us. She helped us provide blankets to the community last year.
Hmm.
We went out and we fed chili. She provided cases and cases of blankets alongside that chili and clothing. And we went out and we had about 4 or 5 different encampments in the Los Angeles area, just feeding literally from sun up to, we served more than 200 people. But you don't see that out in the media as much as you do all the negativity. There's so many different events where you're helping kids that are in foster care, with different events, with tablets, and toiletries. There was a group of kids that we serviced from here in Gardena. They were homeless high schoolers. I didn't even know there was a
Oh,
such thing as
wow.
homeless high schoolers, but these were homeless high schoolers putting together the gift bags with the toiletries and the things that their caretaker basically said that they needed. Some of them had been placed in group homes. Some of them were in a hotel, and some of them were like in a homeless shelter, but they still needed the toiletry items. So we all put together bags, with some clothes and some coats, some soap, some shampoo, things that they would need to help with that. So there's so much good that's being done that you don't hear about. So it's like you have to change that social focus from that negative to the positive, because everybody's doing so many great things.
Yeah.
And a lot of your bike set, whether they're riding twos, whether they're riding threes, regardless of what they're riding, many of them are business owners.
Hmm.
You know, many of them, they're not just somebody out here committing a crime. Like they want to paint it in a societal view. They're owners and workers just like everyone else. Like she said, they just chose to ride outside of a cage, and some of them have cages too. So it's bad when you look at someone in one view and you see them in another. It's just like right now you can see and look. And I mean, I'm tatted up. I get out on my threes. I wear my vest because I'm a rough rider. I wear my vest. I look totally different when I'm in the business light and I have on my suit and my hair is down and all my tattoos are covered. I'm still the same person,
Hmm.
Right.
still creating the same good, still trying to do some of the same great work. So why should we have that negative view? Or why should society have that negative view to create the other negative views that follow along behind it, and create that bad picture? The person that's riding a motorcycle needs just as much justice, just as much insurance as the person that you don't see riding a motorcycle, right?
Hmm.
They are going home to a family the same way. There was a recent situation where there was a kid on the back of a motorcycle and someone hit and run them.
Oh, damn.
How do
And
you
that's
do that?
crazy.
There's people, small-minded people that can't see, either can't or do not want to see outside of their own box. The world is this way and has always been this way, and that's the only way that they can view it. Motorcycles, like you said, they're a gang. There's nothing a gang about it. So if we see, 5 to 10 guys in, I don't know, in Maximas or something, does that make them a gang? Is it a
Yeah,
car gang now?
exactly.
So,
It's the same concept. It doesn't even make sense the way society has been stigmatized. And our media and our law enforcement community and the community at large thrives on, oh, the one writer who's evading,
mhm,
right? They
Mhm.
all focus in on that one writer, right? But let's talk about why he's evading.
mhm,
Let's talk about his fear of the police because of what they did to him prior. A lot of the guys and girls are literally physically yanked off motorcycles,
mhm,
property searched, thrown to the ground, injured and dragged across freeways by their helmets.
mhm,
Like the substandard and indecency that they are subjected to on a regular basis is ridiculous. How does law enforcement pull over 40 riders on one person with an infraction.
Mm.
How does that work? How is that law enforcement to begin with?
Mhm.
Like so for us, our whole thing is about educating, and standing up for your rights. Like we've stood up for so many different people in so many different ways. And all I want to do is empower these guys through people like Sunshine, who are professionals, you know. These guys have homes and families and their money's legal. They are not out there slinging dope, murder for hire, all
Mhm.
the wonderful movies. This is not the 2 TV shows. I love the shows. All the guys on there, we know them all. We support them all, right? But that's TV.
Mhm.
This is real life. Like there's a difference, you know?
In
And
real life, your motorcyclists are nurses, they're
Yeah.
doctors, they're lawyers, they're people that work in the corporate setting, they're teachers.
mm,
Some of them are government officials.
mhm.
A
So they're
lot of
coming
them are
from
government officials.
so
I
many
mean,
different walks of life. So I guess
yeah.
everybody in the world is a gang right now, right?
And
So
what's funny is I was gonna ask that question because those are two of my favorite shows as well. So outside of the violence and the drugs and everything, do you think that and us is Sons of Anarchy and the Mayans? Do you think that helps paint motorcycle riders in a bad light?
mm. So there's a part of me that wants to not answer that.
I
And
mean,
then there's a
it's
part
okay if
of
you
me
can't.
that
It's okay.
says, answer that. So I support all the guys that are on these shows. We
Mhm.
know most of them. We interact with most of them. They do come out, they do draw crowds, and they all have their followers and their roles. But I will tell you, if you dig into those actors and their backgrounds, and I personally know quite a few of them, each and every one of them either has a foundation
Mhm.
or is 110% active in a community service project.
Mhm.
Not a single one of those actors literally stands for violence or drug sales or any of that. And that's the irony. That's why I said I'm kind of which so that when you actually look at any of those characters, they are truly characters.
Mhm.
Each one of them has their own story and their upbringing. And that's what they bring to the table when they cast them, right?
Mhm.
But if you look at who they really are, those guys stand for something. Some of them have foundations that we've done amazing things with. They are loyal to where they grew up. They are loyal to the homes that they grew up in.
Mhm.
I know one, his whole heart and soul is showing everybody that you can change, right? And so while they portray these badasses, and guys, I'm not saying you're not badasses, but each and every one of them uses their stature to influence the community in some way, and
Mhm.
they all give back. So it's kind of like ironic because we see it from the motorcycle community side. What do you think, Sunshine?
I think anything in the media can help persuade the viewers to look at things, in one light or the other if they can't really see past the movie or the show. If they don't think outside of what's being presented there, I think it can help persuade the viewers. But I mean, that's anything in media, whether it's those shows or any others. People will take whatever they see on the TV and they'll run with it if they don't think outside the box or take the deep dive, like you said. If you don't really look into the actors and look at what they really stand for, if you're just looking at the show in itself. Because I mean, you think about it, there's been so many shows where actors have done things on the show and then they get attacked outside of the show for something they did on the show when it wasn't relative to, it wasn't real, it was a
Right,
show.
right.
So it really just depends on the viewers and the mind of the viewers. I think what could help with the whole situation to help make it better, help things turn more in a positive direction, is if there are some positive things put out there versus so much, these are some negative things.
Mhm.
If there was some positive publicity on some of the charity events, blah, blah. Positive publicity, on some of the things that they do family oriented. So you can see not just this view, but then there's the total balance of the view. I
Yeah.
think
Right.
it help create some of that
But I think
positive.
and I would just say, just to give it a, positive silver lining, I would just say, if they're being attacked for things that they've done on the TV show, I mean, they've done one hell of a job acting it out. Because
Absolutely. And the reason they're so good is because of what they bring to the table,
Mhm,
their background. Nobody ever figures, why did this guy get casted in this role? It's
mhm,
because their walk, they carry it, they live it, right? And they've come so far past it, they can connect with it. And so they bring that into their careers.
yeah. Well, they need, and I think so. And Sunshine is, and well, this is for both of you, but I'll start with you, Sunshine. So as far as like with you being a part of the Rough Riders and crew, I'll say crew, not gang or no craziness, but with you being a part of the Rough Riders, I mean, at least for me growing up, and I'm originally from New Jersey, so and I'm not sure if Rough Riders started in New York or whatever the case is, but when DMX and the whole Rough Rider, when all of that came out, to see them doing the tricks and things on their motorcycles and things like that, I would figure that that would be something positive to where you could look at it and go, okay, because they could put out do a show or something positive. But like you said, that doesn't get highlighted. It's only the one rider that may kick the mirror. But like you said, what happened
Right?
prior to that that coming along. So for you, what's the, I don't know, from when it started back in the 90s, I guess, up to now, like what is the biggest difference that you see or that you've been a part of as far as the Rough Rider crew going from what I saw in New York growing up, in New York and New Jersey growing up, to what you're a part of now? Like, what is the biggest difference?
So I can't really speak on what happened in the 90s other than some of the history. So you do have the Rough Rider music label that's in New York, but the original motorcycle chapter started in Los Angeles. I'm actually a member of the mother chapter. So
Okay.
it started here in 2001, the original chapter, and it was started by Magnum.
Yeah.
What the difference was then, I really can't speak on. They do still have the stunting.
Hmm.
A lot of guys you'll see when we're riding, they're wheeling up and they're burning out and they're showing off because they have the skills and they practice.
Hmm.
So you still see a lot of the same thing with the music promotion. We did a lot of DMX Rise, promoting. So I can't say any of that has really changed. I think the camaraderie continues to build, with new members
Hmm.
because members are joining every day. I think from what I'm understanding, the last number I was told we're about a 30,000 strong and we're worldwide.
Wow.
So not only are we in New York and Los Angeles, we're also in Japan and Germany, so we're worldwide, we're everywhere. And since I've become a Rough Rider, or since I've invested, because you go through your prospecting phase, since I've invested, and even while I was prospecting, I've met Rough Riders all over. Recently, we were in Oakland, and I met a member from Germany.
Hmm.
So we're everywhere. So the family, I think, is still strong. I think they're still riding and enjoying it, and still doing a lot of the same community service work. So I don't see a real big difference. I think the camaraderie and the family, and we say Rough Rider family, Rough Rider lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle. It's not just, it's not a club. It's really a lifestyle. When you connect with everyone, and that's your family. If you need anything, I can go from here to Texas right now, and I'll let my Rough Rider family in Texas know that I'm in Texas,
Hmm.
and they're gonna come out. I go to Oklahoma, the same thing. I call it my most memorable moment when I was a prospect.
Hmm.
I was prospecting, going through, that's where you go through and you're earning their respect. They're learning you to see if they want to allow you to come in to be a part of that family.
Hmm.
And the president from one of the chapters in Oklahoma, him and the whole chapter came out, they had dinner with me, and they asked me, said, well, what do you like? And I like nature and I like geography. He said, well, we have Mount Pleasant out here. So would you like to go out there and see? I said, sure. So we go to the top of this mountain, and then we get to the top of the mountain. It's me and that whole chapter, including the prez. And then there's a rock at the top of this at the top of this mountain. And he said, all right, now you got to climb on top of that rock and you got to say the prospect motto. Now, he climbed on top of that rock with me. He said, I'm going to get up here with you. In
Hmm.
other words, I'm not going to do anything more than what I would, I'm not going to do anything I wouldn't do I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself.
Hmm.
And he got up there, we said the prospect model, he signed my shirt, and gave me a big old hug. But it was really a great experience. And it showed me that if I need anything, there's support there for me. And we've all stayed in contact ever since I've met them. Same thing when I've gone to Florida. So anywhere I've gone to, and those are just a couple of examples, it's been all over the place, just a couple of examples. But with that, I know I've got family everywhere that I can call on if I need anything. I literally started in Texas and I went from one side of Texas to the other, kind of like in a C.
Hmm.
Everywhere I went, I tapped in to let them know that I was in town. And literally from the time I landed, they started checking on me. Sunshine, are you good? Do you need anything? Do you need anybody to pick you up from the airport? Just like your family if you were local. And luckily, I mean, I had a rental car and all that kind of stuff. I really didn't need anything other than just saying, hey, how you doing? But just to know that I had that kind of support, that kind of love. So if I really did need something in a state that I knew nothing about, I had someone that I could call. And some of them even had one of my family members had a record business. So say my car broke down, I would have had somebody to come that could have come and told me. So you just never know. And I appreciate that. So it's more than just, a club, as someone say, it's really a true lifestyle. It's really a true family.
And it's crazy to hear you, because even listening to you two talk about it, it's it's the same exact thing as a fraternity or a sorority. It's the same exact thing, but they don't look at fraternities or sororities as gangs and and different things like that.
I
It's
think what happens sometimes is you'll have a bad apple,
Hmm.
and that becomes the opportunity to paint a negative picture. I'm sorry, Black Widow.
That's okay. I was gonna say, what they do is in order to, and I've noticed this over the years in working with all the different various clubs, organizations, families, and all the different sectors, is because I've been welcomed into many different sectors. What I've noticed over the years is that there's a semblance of an underlying sense of controlling, right? So the powers that be, whether it's law enforcement, a county, a state, a city, they are worried about the riders when they travel because they travel in numbers, right? And so they really don't have any way of controlling them. If, for example, Rough Riders, we do an event at the park, right? It could be a charity event with nothing attached to it other than feeding the homeless, right? We're going to get law enforcement because there's no way to really control their civil liberties.
Hmm.
So what I've noticed is that they use one incident, hype it to create the negative stigma, to try and keep the communities to police the riders without the police.
Hmm.
So it's a, and I've seen it, in the beginning when I first started noticing it, I was like, this can't be happening, right? But a small city will say, hey, you guys are not welcome here. Well, how do you designate that you can't be somewhere? It's against our civil liberties, right?
Hmm.
Most of the guys that are riding through there serve, so you could ride through that. You could drive in those streets. You could have your civil liberties, right? But because there's really no way to control them
Hmm.
when there's that many numbers, right? So they use the community at large and create that negative around the riders to have the communities police them. Something as simple as a restaurant or a bar. Law enforcement will walk into a privately and independently owned and operated facility and tell them, we will cite you and shut you down if you allow them to eat here, to drink here. It's gone so far as if you allow them to ride their bikes onto your parking lot and support your establishment. They have literally, and I mean, can you imagine walking into an owner of a business saying, if you allow somebody to ride their bike onto your parking lot and eat and drink and spend their money at your facility, we're going to cite you and shut you down? Law enforcement actually does that. We've gotten multiples, not 10, not 20, but over 100+ incidents where that's actually occurred. They will send letters to their own locations. So I can't really give you like names of places,
That's
but
fine.
but for example, military retirees have a right to meet at certain places, right? They've sent mass mailers to the captains of those facilities saying, if you host motorcycle riders, you will lose your right to this location. Threatening letters. It doesn't make sense. But the guys that are coming are the guys that allowed you to have that location.
Mhm.
Like there would, I don't understand it. So that's one of the big things that we fight against constantly. And that's where we need more and more voices. And like for me, my goal is to get them as strong as possible, as educated as possible, and have people start looking at them like these are real people.
Mhm.
Do not allow the control, that false perception, actually shadow how you see these people.
So is there any type of recourse for the owners of these restaurants? You know, if the police send them, send them any type of letters, mailers, or whatever, is there any pushback that the owners of these establishments can give the police?
Yes. So what happens is, you get cops walking in, suited, booted, badged, gun on their hips, rah, right? Blah, 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 this is what we're going to do. And this owner is like, what the hell? Right? And a lot of times, unfortunately, they don't want the harassment.
Hmm.
So what they do is they'll back away from the clubs and be like, hey guys, we're sorry. Lately, we've been able to get it to where the owners are like, no, this is a private establishment. Unless you have a legitimate reason that you can show me, I'm going to go ahead and have this event. It could be any restaurant, like it's anything simple, a park. It could be a McDonald's, any place where there's multiple of them.
Hmm.
And because they are a family, they ride together. That's their thing, right? But they don't understand that there is an internal structure that actually governs them. In
Hmm.
order to get the patch that she wears, you literally go through, it's not just them. These clubs have a extreme structured setup. They don't just hand them the patch. There is a motto, there is service, there is humility, because their thing is, if I'm riding with you and my life depends on you, can I trust you with my life?
Hmm.
They don't just give that, because it's, they have a saying that it's not if, it's when, right?
Yeah.
Because they're on twos. And if it's two of them, they have to be able to trust each other.
Hmm.
And so they literally go through a major, major training before they're ever allowed to wear a patch. Like it's an honor. And it's not a matter of days or weeks or months. It could be a long process before they're ever given the patch. And
Hmm.
everything on that patch has a significant meaning. They're not, those patches are not just thrown on, they've been earned, right? So it's just a matter of educating the community, and understanding that they earned that through service, through humility, through training, through a lot of times it's hard to keep your mouth shut, right? But they've had to keep their mouth shut when they wanted to speak.
Hmm.
Self-restraint, self-restraint, decorum, like it's a whole world.
Yes, it is.
And
You
it's
you
not,
definitely, like she said, you definitely earn it. And that humility, of being, like she said, being able to not say things you want to say,
Hmm.
because you have to understand the structure and the chain of command, and it's almost like when you were a kid and you were taught to respect your elders. to a degree. You think about it in that light, in that concept. And you go through the hard work, the community service that she's talking about. You have to do all of that. You know, you have to earn that respect. It is definitely not given. You earn the right to wear that vest
Hmm.
or that privilege, as they would say. You
I know
if
you
you
quote.
act up and you violate the standards or the rules, they take that vest that you earned from you.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, it's definitely not an easy road to walk sometimes.
No, it's not. Mad respect, girl. You already know. Honestly, at my age and where I am in my career, I could never, as an individual, as big as my mouth is, right? Ever walk the walk that Sunshine walked to earn what she has. And I tell them all the time, I would be, I would lose instantly because I see it in action and I'm always fascinated as to how each and every member that is wearing a patch, what they had to go through and they like what they have to do to earn it. So that's why they will protect it. That's why they're willing to fight for it and stand up for it. It has a significant, it's like earning a Purple Heart in the military,
Hmm.
right? That doesn't come easy. Those patches that they wear, those vests that they wear, did not come easy. I I can't think of anybody who just gives it away. And they get all sorts of laws thrown in their face. Oh, you can't do this. And you're like, but what happened to the Constitution?
Hmm.
What happened to you can't just stop me and search me because you want to? What happened to a male officer cannot search a female? Like I could just go on and on over like everything that we deal with on a regular basis. It's so sad. And people think we're crazy to do what we do. People think I'm crazy to do what I do, right? They can't figure out how I can afford to do what I do. And like I tell everybody, it's very simple business 101, right? How much money are y'all spending on fancy billboards? 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. You go up and down the freeways, you see billboards. Do you know how many families that money can feed?
Yeah.
Do you guys know how many families you can reach one on one and what kind of a referral base you can build?
Hmm.
Like when I give a helmet to somebody, that person, if God forbid anything happens, is going to be like, hey, I remember that Cray Cray. She actually cared to give me a helmet.
Hmm.
They will refer me because I want to earn their trust and respect, right?
Hmm.
So they're going to remember me. Why would I spend my money on billboards?
Yeah.
I don't understand that concept. Like I say, and I just laugh at all these billboards because I'm like, wow, you've got on a stretch of highway, you've got the same dude advertising 30 billboards, right? Take that money, put it in the community, sit back and watch how much the community is going to support you.
Hmm.
You know, quit skimming off the top. They all skim off the top. 300 here, 500 here, and I'm like, why?
Hmm.
Why? And I'm living proof that if you put common sense into practice and you walk it, and believe me, we've taken some really hard hits. There's been times when I'm like, what did I just do? Right. But it's common sense. If you do it, like, it's not hard. People remember how you make them feel.
Hmm.
They remember that you made that one extra phone call. Like we were doing a Feed the Homeless in Skid Row. I wanted to add more and go into the jungles. We stopped by McDonald's. I go to get out the car. There's a human being on the side of the road, female, in a hospital gown, hospital tag still in her hands, bleeding. People were walking over her worse than they would treat a dog. Like I I will never forget that sight. It's like implanted in my head. And I was like, somebody call an ambulance like right now. I
Hmm.
literally was like, we're not going to leave her. The ambulance, you know what they say? Oh yeah, well, we dropped her off. She was discharged. I was like, listen, assholes, my taxes pay your salary. You guys come pick her up, and I want to know what hospital she's going to. That small act of decency that every one of us has the potential to do, right? That 5 extra minutes, what are we all rushing to do? 5 minutes could save that person's. What are we all rushing to? Everybody's go, 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 go. What are we rushing to? Like, those are the things, like when I talk to my guys, like, we'll sit down, I'll go out, they all look at me like, what the hell? Because I tell them, like, what are you doing 140 for? You're going to get there 5 minutes earlier than somebody else. What are you doing 140 for? Like, I would rather have you late and safe.
Yeah.
Like for me, coming into this community, I was privileged because I am not a patch holder. I was very privileged to be welcomed into it. And as a female, for them to give me the opportunity to actually develop what I have going on. So one of the things that Sunshine and I were talking about was we just wrote a warranty for the motorcycle community. Black Widow Cycle Guard, we just launched it. It's a test product. People make so much money off the riders, like the mass corporations, like Harley and all those guys, right? These guys love their bikes. You will get a call and all I hear is, my bike. I'm like, dude, you've got 6 fractures. My bike. So we wrote, as soon as they alter their bikes, their warranties are voided. They will pay $3,000-$4,000 for their warranties. So I was like, you know what? I've had it. So we wrote a warranty that covers most of their parts and bikes, even if they're altered. We put MedPay. A lot of my guys can't get medical insurance. We put in a funeral fund. If, God forbid, anything happens, and that's for you, Sunshine, God forbid anything happens, we will pay whatever MedPay is left to the next of kin. Like little things like that matter.
Yeah.
But here's society. Look at my tits. Look at me. Look at this. And I'm like, hello? Like, I don't know. For me, it blows my mind. So I want my own forum, right? And I was talking to Sunshine about this. I want to call it Wake the Fuck Up with Black Widow. Because I literally want to talk to people like you, the general public, if we could just push through a little bit and a little bit through different people in different avenues, imagine how much we could change.
Yeah.
Breaking barriers and breaking limitations. Yep.
Yeah. And I'll say this, and I told you that for me, this is the cool part about doing a freestyle podcast is that, like I said, nothing is set up. We just go wherever the conversation goes. So I'll say this: anytime you all have anything you want to promote, you want to send me something to post on my page, you're more than welcome to. I will.
Thank you.
I'd like to be, a part of it. Motorcycles scare the hell out of me. So I'm now I've been on a motorcycle twice, and I was just like, you know what? Seems fun, but that was enough for me. So I like 4 wheels versus 2.
Speed demon didn't get you, huh?
No, no. Actually, the first time I got on a motorcycle, I was in South America, and to be on the back of a motorcycle and have someone dodging in and out of traffic. I mean, squeezing in between cows, and it was
No.
yeah, it was
And
just
not cars, but cows.
Cows?
we
Yeah,
were we were we
okay.
were sort of in the country, but it was just it was like okay, like I said, I'm on the back of a motorcycle holding on to another man, like, oh, don't drop me. So so I
That must
mean,
have been hilarious.
but that right there, and then the other time it was, I had to learn, oh, don't drop your weight to this side. It was just a lot for me. I was like, you know what? I know over time I would have gotten it, but I was just like, I'll stay on four wheels. The two wheels, I live vicariously through the rest of you.
And you know there are fours without a cage though, right? You got
I,
four
I
wheels.
Right?
I've seen them. I've seen the three. I think the threes look great. The slingshots, all those type of things. And so, I'll ask that before we wrap up. I'll ask this. So, what are your feelings on the slingshots and things like that? Or are they closer? Because in my mind, they're a lot different than I guess, the open three wheelers. Or are they? Do you all see them the same? Because you all are in that community. So how does it? Is there a difference between the two, really?
All
Well,
you, Sunshine.
I ride a Spider, so I ride a three.
Hmm.
I'm on a Spider F3 2021. They do ride differently because I
Okay.
mean they're built differently, but
Hmm.
they're still both. You don't really have a full-on cage over top of a slingshot. You can buy one,
Hmm.
but a lot of the ones you see, especially the ones I've seen out here in other places that don't really have a lot of rain or a lot of weather, most
Hmm.
of the time they're open top. So,
Okay.
with the three wheels, even though they do, I look at them like a little race car almost.
Okay.
But they can still be in just as many accidents as some of your open. And some places require helmets in them and some places don't. And in some places they are considered to be a motorcycle because they're not a full-on car. They only have three wheels. I think it all depends on really what you ride, what you like. You ride your ride, you
Hmm.
know. It's like I like the threes over, I've ridden twos and I've ridden threes, and I like my threes a little bit more so now than I did the twos. But again, it's all in what you prefer. Just ride your ride, whatever it is.
Well, I'll say this. I'll definitely want to have you two back on for something else. Miss Sunshine, I definitely bring you back on where we can talk more because I wanted to go in more into the coaching and stuff. But like I said, the conversation went one way, which is great. I learned so much about motorcycles and different things like that because I didn't know, I'll say, anything of what you all were talking about in terms of, the laws and different things that happen with motorcycle riders and stuff. So it was a education for me. But my last question for the both of you would be, what do you hope to accomplish in the motorcycle world, and what you all are doing in terms of motorcycles and different things like that? What do you hope to accomplish by the end of the year, or at least by the beginning of next year?
Wow, it's a hard one. I have a new goal this year. I want to support as many women entrepreneurs as I can this year.
Okay.
I've always been very uh not quiet, but very like, quietly supporting.
Hmm.
This year, I want to support as many women writers and as many women entrepreneurs as I can. And that is something that I've actually added into what we stand for and what we do. I feel like people like Sunshine need to be able to speak out more, to have their own forums. And I feel like there's a lot of women entrepreneurs within the community and outside of the community that don't know what's available to them. So for me, and that's kind of how Sunshine and I started talking, is I want to push out more and more support towards people like her,
Hmm.
specifically females in a male dominated world. The guys go to each other. The females don't know that people like Sunshine, yes, she's a writer, but at the same time, she's also a professional.
Hmm.
So I want to get more and more of the professional females a forum. So for me, I would like to, and I've tried with several different like areas, locations, like, hey, let's have a female empowerment weekend.
Hmm.
So for me, by hook or by crook, by the grace of God, I will somehow find the avenue to have the females like Sunshine come in and say, okay, I'm a writer, but I'm also a professional.
Hmm.
And this is where I can take you guys, the levels. Like, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I really wouldn't. This is not my thing, right? And I'm learning to learn. I'm actually learning from them.
Hmm.
I'm learning by watching their pages, what they're doing, how they're doing it. So my goal, hopefully 2022, is to hold an empowerment, like a weekend empowerment for my women, hosted by women writers for women. Like, so that's something for me that's a little different this year. I don't know, but for me, that's a personal goal.
Okay. Sunshine?
Black Widow. I feel like a copycat almost.
What?
So same here. Very similar to Black Widow. One of my passions is working with women, and I know what it feels like to be looked down upon when you're a woman as a leader. I know the struggle of dealing with men in a male dominated industry. Whew, do I know the struggle? And just being in a male environment in itself, it definitely has its times. So definitely providing more support to women leaders, um, empowering women, whether they're entrepreneurs, business owners, or just women that need that level of empowerment, is one of my goals for this year too. So I'm actually looking at planning a bit of a retreat. I'm just still kind of working through the nuances of what all I want to include in it for this year. If not this year, next year, hopefully by this year. But working through those. And then also, I have a passion for working with women who've been through things like the women in shelters.
Hmm.
So I would like to start before the end of this year, really getting into some of those women's shelters, and start to do some confidence building and some coaching to help, and even some of that can be pro bono, just to really get them to that next level, because there's so many things that they can do and so many holes they can dig themselves out of, so many limits they can break if they just had the right mindset. And
Hmm.
hopefully I can help empower that mindset so that they could go on and achieve whatever it is whether it's starting a new business, whether it's achieving their next level of leadership in whatever type of work they're doing, but the goal is to get them to their next levels. So those are kind of my goals for this year.
All
Do
right.
you hear how she just came across? She's, those are the guys that are my reason, like you just literally brought tears to my eyes. Those are the types of people that are in this community
Hmm.
that get abused and take heat. So she's so selfless, right? Sorry. Like, that's what drives me. That's the passion that drives me. There are so many of those women and men in this community that have that passion for humanity.
Hmm.
And the amount of abuse they take is absolutely not necessary. Sorry, guys. Like, do you hear the passion coming through in her voice?
Hmm.
Sunshine and the other riders is what motivates me. What she will break through. And all we are doing is empowering them to do what they want to do. And through them, we're blessed.
Hmm.
It's a simple cycle. And like when she named her break limit coaching, that was done from the heart. And she has the ability to do that. Dude, she got tears out of me.
Yeah.
Damn, guys.
Uh, so in closing, where can the people reach out to you all if they, if they want to with you, if they want to, take part in your coaching, which we didn't get to talk a lot about, but we will. I'll have you back on and we'll talk about the coaching and stuff. So how can they get in contact with the both of you?
So Break Limits Coaching, and on the screen, you can see at the bottom, my website, www.breaklimitscoaching.com. I'm also on IG as break_limits_coaching. I'm also on LinkedIn as Break Limits Coaching, all one word. Or you can reach me at Regina at breaklimitscoaching.com.
Very proud of you. Mine is very simple. It's 1-844, no chance. That's simple. That's the go-to number. Or if you want to reach me directly, it's a IG Black Widow _investigations. And it's the diamonds. It's all about the diamonds.
And I'll put all of this information in the show notes and everything.
Good.
And same thing for me. If you want to reach me, You'll find me on IG. We need to talk 23.pod. So you can find me on Linktree. What else? TikTok. Still learning how to use TikTok. Um,
That's a
yeah.
lot of fancy stuff, you two. I'm very proud of you.
That,
So all that setup is all my team's responsibility. I'm not trying to learn all this fancy stuff. All this technology all got going on.
yeah, it took a while for me to get there, but I got there. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, so but I'm working on it. But and again, I appreciate your time for coming on and educating me on all things motorcycle related. So like oh, and before we go, I don't want to necessarily date the show, but rest in peace to all of the kids and the teachers that died and that were murdered in Texas today.
Yes, that was
Um,
crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, I tried. I don't like to date the show, but I couldn't do a whole episode and not mention that. So, rest in peace to them. Prayers for their families and everything. I don't know. That's a topic for another show. I don't want to keep you all too long. So,
Don't
um,
even get me started on that. Woo wee.
Yeah. Such a
but
tragedy.
thank y'all. Thank you
Yes.
again.
And Ringo, thank you for having us. We appreciate your time as well and space on your show.
Hey, and anytime.